Ever feel like you're always chasing the clock, wishing you had a bit more, control over your time and your actions?
Yeah.
Well, that's precisely what we're diving deep into today.
Oh, no. Excellent.
And we're not just floating around in abstract theories here. We're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty, the practical stuff, the things you can actually use right away.
Right on.
We're cracking open Theodore Bryant's self-discipline in 10 days, aiming to extract, like the core principles, the actionable steps, those golden nuggets that can help you understand and actually cultivate, self-discipline without feeling overwhelmed.
Huh.
So think of this deep dive as your express lane to understanding Bryant's strategies and how they can really be applied in your daily life for
Got it.
real results.
Absolutely. So what's really striking about Brian's starting point is, well, this fundamental idea that the power to change, it's not something, external that we need to like go out and acquire.
Hmm.
It's more like an inherent capacity, something we already have within us that we need to recognize and then activate.
Yeah, yeah.
It's this shift in mindset, right? Going from feeling like we're powerless against our own impulses to understanding that we actually possess the agency to direct our own behavior.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Day one of Bryant's approach, it centers on this idea of, quote, recognizing your power. And it's not just some fluffy motivational stuff. He's really saying that the foundation, the bedrock of self-discipline, is acknowledging that you have the ability to make choices and steer your actions. And it's so important because, think about it. If you don't believe you can change any strategy you try, it's probably going to fall flat.
Absolutely.
And the exercise that Bryant suggests is so telling. He says, pinpoint those areas where you'd like to have more control, and then make a conscious commitment, even a small one, to initiate change in one of those areas.
I love that.
So for you, dear listener, as someone who's, clearly interested in learning and growing, think about a skill you want to develop or a habit you want to form, and acknowledging your power to even start that is the crucial first step.
That initial step of acknowledging personal power, it's much more significant than it might appear. It really taps into this psychological principle of self-efficacy, that belief in your own ability to succeed in specific situations or to accomplish a task.
I see.
And this belief, it's a powerful predictor of whether we even attempt to change in the first place. And it really influences our persistence when we face challenges.
Now, moving into day two, Bryant tackles something we all struggle with: procrastination. And he does something really interesting. He reframes it, right? He
Yeah.
presents it not as laziness, but often as a response to feeling totally overwhelmed by the size, the complexity of a task.
Makes sense.
So his solution, break it down. He's a big advocate for dissecting those like monumental tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, because he argues that this makes it less daunting and allows you to build momentum through a series of small wins.
And the immediate action that he recommends for this day, for day two,
Yeah.
is tackling just one small component of that larger task.
Yeah.
And this is incredibly effective because it's about disrupting that cycle of avoidance by initiating even minimal progress.
Right.
And what's really interesting from like a behavioral science perspective is how this initial action, it can actually reduce the perceived effort required for the subsequent steps. So it makes it easier to just keep going.
It's like priming the pump, isn't it?
It is.
That little bit of effort makes the rest flow more readily.
Exactly.
So then building on that momentum, day three turns our attention to eliminating temptations. And Bryant very astutely points out that self-discipline, it's not just this internal game. Our external environment plays a huge role. So he advises us to proactively identify and remove those common distractions that, they tend to derail our intentions, right? Whether it's silencing those social media notifications that are constantly pulling for our attention, or limiting the easy access to the TV, when we're trying to do focused work, or even, like strategically managing our snack cupboard if we're trying to eat healthier.
That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
I tend to,
Oh, the snacks, yeah.
gravitate toward the snacks.
Yeah, yeah.
This emphasis on environmental design, it's a key insight because we often underestimate the power of our surroundings to influence our behavior.
True.
And by consciously shaping our environment to minimize that friction, to remove those triggers for those unwanted actions, we're essentially making it easier to exercise self-control.
Yeah.
And this aligns with the idea of like choice architecture,
Yeah.
subtly designing choices to kind of nudge ourselves toward certain behaviors.
Yeah, yeah. It's about making the The virtuous path, the easy path.
Exact.
So day 4 introduces this concept of building a routine. Bryant's a champion of establishing a consistent daily schedule. He sees it as a way to prioritize those essential tasks and create this predictable structure that fosters, reliability.
Structure's key, isn't it?
Yeah, so his recommendation is plan your day in advance and as much as possible, stick to that plan. But it's not about, being rigid or inflexible. It's about having a framework that supports your goals.
The beauty of a routine is it reduces that cognitive load associated with making decisions.
Oh, yeah.
When certain actions are integrated into a predictable sequence, we don't have to constantly decide, should I do this or not?
Yeah.
They just become part of our established pattern.
It becomes automatic.
Right. And that frees up mental energy for more demanding tasks.
Yeah, it's like automating some of those foundational elements of your day. And then day 5 goes into something that's often overlooked, and that's the connection between our emotions and self-discipline. So, dealing with emotional blocks. Bryant recognizes that, feelings like fear, anxiety, and self-doubt, they can be major roadblocks to taking action.
Oh, absolutely.
So his approach is first to acknowledge those emotions, but without judging them, and then consciously countering them with more logical, more positive self-talk.
That's so important. Recognizing that emotional component of self-discipline is crucial. I mean, we're not purely rational beings, right?
No, we're not.
Our feelings, they can very powerfully influence our
No,
choices.
that's true.
And Bryant's suggesting identifying those negative emotions and actively reframing them with rational and encouraging statements. That's a practical application of cognitive restructuring. It's a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy,
So it's really about learning to manage your inner critic.
Absolutely.
So then shifting gears a bit, day 6 brings in the power of mental imagery.
Yeah.
Visualizing success.
Okay.
Bryant presents visualization as this potent tool for maintaining your motivation and really reinforcing your commitment to your goals.
Makes sense.
He suggests spending a few minutes each day really vividly imagining yourself completing tasks and achieving your desired outcomes.
And the effectiveness of that visualization, it stems from its ability to prime the brain for success. By mentally rehearsing desired outcomes, we strengthen neural pathways that are associated with those actions.
I see.
And we build confidence in our ability to achieve them.
Oh, wow.
And it can also enhance motivation by making that desired future feel more tangible, more attainable.
It's almost like creating a mental blueprint for success.
It is.
Then day 7 continues this exploration of our internal landscape with changing negative self-talk.
Right.
Bryant highlights how those, those persistent negative thoughts that we have about ourselves, they can really undermine our efforts to be more disciplined.
Absolutely.
And he emphasizes the importance of consciously identifying and transforming this negative internal monologue into something positive and empowering,
What's particularly insightful here is the understanding that our self-talk can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we constantly tell ourselves that we're not capable or we're going to fail, well, that belief can sabotage our efforts.
That's so true.
By consciously shifting our internal dialogue, we can cultivate a more supportive and encouraging inner environment.
It's like you become your own encouraging coach rather than a discouraging critic.
Exactly.
Then day 8 zeroes in on the act of making a commitment. Bryant stresses the importance of making a firm personal commitment to your goals as like a cornerstone of self-discipline.
Yeah.
And he has this interesting suggestion. He suggests writing down a personal pledge to remain disciplined and then reviewing it daily as a tangible reminder of your dedication.
And the act of actually physically writing down that commitment, it adds this layer of formality and accountability.
Oh, yeah, it's like making it real.
Yeah, it moves that intention from a vague thought to a more concrete declaration, making it psychologically more binding and harder to disregard in those, moments of weakness.
Yeah, it's solidifying your intention. Day 9, this one acknowledges the reality that we all face. Overcoming setbacks. It's just a natural part of any journey towards self-improvement. And Bryant, he has this really healthy perspective. He advises us to view past failures not as like definitive defeats, but as valuable learning experiences. And he encourages us to analyze what went wrong and develop strategies to prevent, similar issues from cropping up again in the future.
That perspective is so essential for building resilience. Viewing setbacks as learning opportunities fosters a growth mindset.
Yes.
Where challenges are seen as opportunities for development rather than evidence of some inherent inadequacy.
Hmm.
And this ability to bounce back from adversity, that's a hallmark of those self-disciplined individuals.
Yeah, it's about reframing failure as
Yeah.
feedback. Finally, we reach day 10, which focuses on this ongoing process of strengthening willpower. Bryant uses this really helpful analogy. He compares willpower to a muscle that can be strengthened through consistent
It's
exercise.
a great analogy.
Yeah, and he suggests setting small, manageable challenges, things that require self-control, and then gradually increasing the difficulty over time.
And that gradual approach is key.
Yeah.
I mean, just as you wouldn't try to lift an enormous weight without prior training, you can't expect to suddenly possess boundless willpower.
Hmm,
By starting with small acts of self-control and progressively challenging yourself, you build that mental muscle, but you do it in a sustainable way.
that's a great point. Now, going beyond these 10 daily steps, Bryant also lays out some overarching concepts that are crucial for long-term self-discipline. One of the most foundational is, quote, understanding the power of habits.
Habits are everything.
Yeah, he emphasizes how habits really shape our daily behavior, often operating beneath our conscious awareness. And the good news is that we have the power to consciously identify, modify, and even create new habits that align with our goals.
Absolutely.
And what's really insightful, I think, is recognizing that by automating those positive behaviors through habit formation, we reduce the constant need for conscious effort for willpower.
Exactly. Habits are essentially our brain's way of becoming more efficient.
Hmm,
Once the behavior becomes habitual, it requires significantly less mental energy to perform.
that makes sense.
Right. And this frees up our cognitive resources for more demanding tasks.
And reduces the likelihood of giving in to those impulsive decisions.
Absolutely.
Another vital element Bryant discusses is setting clear goals, and he often uses this SMART framework.
Yeah, SMART goals.
Right. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Having those well-defined goals, it gives us a clear direction and a strong sense of purpose, which is absolutely essential for maintaining motivation and self-discipline over the long haul.
Totally.
And the measurable and time-bound aspects, I think they're particularly important because they let us track our progress objectively and stay accountable.
Without those specific and measurable elements, goals can remain kind of abstract aspirations.
Yeah.
The SMART framework provides a practical roadmap for translating those aspirations into concrete targets
Yeah.
that we can actually work towards and evaluate our progress against.
He also revisits the challenge of overcoming procrastination. This time he goes deeper into the underlying root causes, which can often include, fear of failure, perfectionism, or even a lack of clarity about the task itself.
Right.
So while he reiterates the strategies of breaking things down and setting deadlines, he also stresses the importance of addressing those deeper psychological barriers that fuel procrastination in the first place.
That highlights the fact that procrastination is often a symptom rather than the core problem.
Hmm.
And effectively tackling it requires a degree of self-awareness and a willingness to address those, underlying anxieties or beliefs that are driving the avoidance behavior.
He also underscores the importance of building a supportive environment. This involves consciously surrounding ourselves with people who encourage our growth and minimizing exposure to those environmental cues that can, easily derail us. Creating a physical workspace that's conducive to focus, seeking out connections with like-minded individuals can make a huge difference in our ability to stay disciplined.
Oh yeah, the influence of our social environment on our behavior is well documented.
Yeah.
I mean, we're more likely to adopt and maintain habits that are supported by our social circles.
Yeah.
And conversely, being surrounded by negative influences or constant distractions can undermine even the strongest intentions.
Absolutely. Bryant further emphasizes embracing failure as a learning opportunity instead of seeing setbacks as insurmountable obstacles, or evidence of inadequacy. He encourages us to reframe them as sources of information that can help us, refine our strategies and build greater resilience in the long run. And that shift in perspective is so crucial.
And this concept aligns with the principles of a growth mindset.
Yes.
Viewing failure as a temporary setback and an opportunity to learn and adapt, Well, that fosters perseverance
Mhm.
and a willingness to keep striving towards our goals, even when things get tough.
Yeah, yeah. He also highlights the role of self-reflection, advocating for the practice of regularly assessing our progress, identifying our strengths and weaknesses, learning from our experiences.
Self-reflection is key, isn't it?
Yeah, and engaging in techniques like journaling or seeking, constructive feedback from others can provide such valuable insights for continuous improvement on that path toward greater self-discipline.
It really is. Self-awareness is a cornerstone of self-discipline.
Hmm.
And regular self-reflection, it provides us with the opportunity to understand our triggers,
Yeah.
to identify what strategies are working and adjust our approach as needed.
Yeah.
It's an essential component of continuous personal growth.
Finally, Bryant really underscores the importance of self-care.
Oh, yeah?
He emphasizes that maintaining our physical, mental, and emotional well-being, it's not a luxury or an afterthought, it's a necessity for sustained self-discipline.
It really is.
Incorporating things like exercise, mindfulness, or meditation, making sure we get enough rest, all of that is so crucial for maintaining the energy and the mental clarity we need for self-control.
It's a crucial reminder that self-discipline is not about deprivation or pushing ourselves relentlessly.
Hmm.
It's about creating a sustainable and balanced lifestyle that supports our long-term goals and well-being.
Yeah.
And taking care of our fundamental needs actually enhances our capacity for self-control.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Theodore Bryant's self-discipline in 10 days, it's clear that he offers us a very practical and actionable framework for developing this essential skill. And it's not about, some instant overnight transformation. It's about embracing consistent incremental progress through a series of well-defined steps and key principles.
And what's particularly valuable about Brian's approach is that emphasis on concrete strategies, exercises that
Yeah,
you, dear listener, can start implementing in your life right away.
exactly.
It's not just theoretical advice. It's a practical guide to taking control of your actions and building stronger self-discipline.
Exactly. So as you listen to this right now, think about which of these initial steps or these overarching concepts that we've talked about resonates most strongly with your current aspirations, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that idea of recognizing your inherent power to change, or maybe it's that strategy of breaking down a daunting task into smaller steps, to overcome procrastination.
This brings us to a final thought for you to ponder. How might consistently applying even a single one of these principles from Theodore Bryant's self-discipline in 10 days, how might that fundamentally reshape your ability to learn effectively, to achieve your goals with greater focus and ultimately lead to a more fulfilling and successful life?
That's a great question.
It's an invitation, really, to embark on your own journey of cultivating self-discipline and observe that the profound impact it can have on your personal and professional growth.
It's definitely a journey worth taking.